In South Korea's top high school, where only the elite 1% gather, Han Ji-woo struggles to fit in. Once the brightest in his old school, here, surrounded by geniuses, he's almost at the bottom of the class, especially in math, which is crucial for college. His classmates are wealthy, able to afford tutors and camps, but Ji-woo relies on student aid and can't manage such luxuries. His math teacher, Mr. Kim Gun-ho, warns him his grades won't cut it for prestigious colleges and suggests transferring. One night, Ji-woo's roommates chip in money for snacks and drinks. Caught returning by guard Lee Hak-sung, Ji-woo faces consequences. Next day, Mr. Kim presses Ji-woo to rat out others involved, but Ji-woo stays loyal, impressing classmate Park Bo-ram but landing himself temporarily dormless. Rejecting money from friends, Ji-woo values their friendship. They brainstorm ways to sneak in snacks since Hak-sung, dubbed commie officer due to being a North Korean defector, makes it tough. Hak-sung's doctor warns him against the toll of night shifts and sleeping pills on his health. With limited options as a defector, Hak-sung opts for the pills, returning home to a solitary routine of caring for his turtle, sipping strawberry milk, and solving Sudoku puzzles. Ji-woo's eviction from the dorms earns teasing from Bo-ram, who expected more. He returns to his family's apartment, cleaning before his hard-working widowed mother arrives, proud to see her son in his prestigious uniform. Ji-woo, unable to admit he needs a place to crash, fibs to say he just popped by to see a friend and has to head back to school soon. Caught in a downpour on his way back, he seeks shelter in the deserted school lab, only to be discovered by Hak-sung, the guard. Feeling sorry for Ji-woo's predicament, Hak-sung invites him to crash in his office. While Ji-woo dozes off, Hak-sung stumbles upon the tough math assignment Ji-woo struggled with. At the crack of dawn, Hak-sung sends Ji-woo packing. Ji-woo's jaw drops when he finds his math work all done, and done right, by Hak-sung. Bo-ram catches wind of this and urges Ji-woo to spill the beans to the teacher, but Ji-woo prefers to keep it hush-hush. After class, Ji-woo expresses gratitude to Hak-sung and pleads for guidance, but Hak-sung brushes him off once more. In the study room, Ji-woo learns even the private tutors of his classmates struggle with the same math problems, highlighting Hak-sung's expertise. Ji-woo shadows Hak-sung, begging for tutoring, but Hak-sung remains indifferent. One day, while taking out trash, Hak-sung overhears teachers discussing students from struggling backgrounds like Ji-woo's. Mr. Kim adds Ji-woo to the list. When Ji-woo approaches Hak-sung again for tutoring, he's advised to transfer, with Hak-sung warning against dwelling on self-pity. Ji-woo vents his frustration over unequal opportunities, prompting Hak-sung to relent and agree to tutor him, with a condition: payment in strawberry milk. The next day, Hak-sung catches up with his friend, and Ji-cheol, who helped him settle in South Korea as a defector from North Korea. They unwind with board games and deep talks, and when Ji-cheol gifts him lamps, Hak-sung insists on footing the bill, adamant he didn't come to the country for handouts. As night creeps in, Hak-sung moves the lamps into the deserted lab to secretly tutor Ji-woo. Setting 3 strict rules: no one else should know about these sessions, only math questions allowed, and grades or tests are off limits. With Ji-woo's assurance to abide by the rules, Hak-sung presents the first task: calculating the area of a triangle. Ji-woo swiftly solves it, deeming it too easy for middle school, but Hak-sung surprises him by drawing a circle around the triangle, indicating he's approached the problem incorrectly. Ji-woo feels deceived, thinking Hak-sung set him up with the wrong question. However, Hak-sung emphasizes the importance of grasping the question's essence, emphasizing that math is about the journey to a solution, not just the answer. When Ji-woo demonstrates understanding, Hak-sung recalls a past memory, labeling it epsilon, signifying something small but significant. Post-lesson, since Ji-woo has nowhere to go, Hak-sung offers him shelter. Discovering Hak-sung's love for classical music, they engage in conversation about composers, deflecting Ji-woo's queries about Hak-sung's history. Hak-sung's old cassette player, worn and crackling, is replaced by Ji-woo's phone, astonishing Hak-sung with its superior sound quality, granting him a deep slumber after ages of restless nights. He sleeps in, missing Ji-woo's departure for class the next morning. Mr. Kim breaks some big news to his math crew. Instead of the usual finals, they're diving into the Pythagoras math competition, a big deal that'll double as their exam. The gang isn't thrilled, given they've only got a couple of months to prep, but Mr. Kim's banking on them all snagging gold. Ji-woo's hitting up Hak-sung's math sessions daily, and Boram starts clocking how often Ji-woo's snagging strawberry milk, like it's his go-to fix. One night, Ji-woo's stumped on a tough problem, looking for a shortcut, but Hak-sung insists he crunch the numbers manually. Hours later, Ji-woo cracks it, and Hak-sung pulls out a neat trick. Legendary mathematician Bernhard Riemann hand-calculated 38 decimals of the square root of 2, diving deep into the process, not just relying on rote formulas. It's a game-changer for grasping math better. But Hak-sung's tight-lipped on whether Ji-woo's nailed it or not. That's Ji-woo's gig to figure out, like a true math whiz. With each passing week, Ji-woo's math game levels up. Then, one day, he gets hit with a gut punch. A close buddy, also from the welfare squad, is bailing back to their old school, admitting this gig wasn't worth it. Now Ji-woo's facing some tough choices, and Boram's trying to be supportive, but Ji-woo feels like she's joking around, claiming they're in the same boat when she's actually loaded too. Their chat gets cut short when Boram's mom arrives to fetch her. Once they hop in the car, Boram gets an earful for hanging out with a kid from a lower-income background. Boram's folks are split, so technically she's part of a welfare setup too, but she's not on financial aid like the other kid. Adding fuel to the fire, her mom scolds her for tuning into piano tunes instead of hitting the books, so she's hired Mr. Kim on the sly to tutor Boram, which is against the rules. Later that night, Ji-woo spills the beans to Hak-sung about his pal and ponders if he should switch schools too. Hak-sung urges him to stay strong and reminds him that guts matter more than brains when it comes to success. To back his talk, he showcases the exercises Ji-woo tackled. Though there are a few blips in the answers, the lad has grasped the problem-solving process. The same night, Ji-woo's suspension wraps up, so he heads back to the dorms, but he confesses he misses sharing space with Hak-sung. Next day, Boram hands him a peace offering of strawberry milk with a note of apology, and while he's preoccupied, she tails him to the old lab and stumbles upon his secret. After thanking Hak-sung for looking out for Ji-woo, she asks if she can swing by from time to time, and Hak-sung agrees on the condition she keeps it hush-hush too. Boram also tosses around the term, commie officer, which leaves Hak-sung scratching his head. He may hail from North Korea, but he never donned the military uniform. For reasons he doesn't bother explaining, he got a pass. Just then, they spot a bunch of students sneaking around campus, but after Ji-woo's ordeal, Hak-sung opts to turn a blind eye. Another night, Ji-woo probes Hak-sung about his hardcore math grind. Hak-sung spills that initially, it was all about bagging a scholarship and supporting his family, but the more he delved into it, the more he saw its beauty, so he fell hard for it. They rope in Boram to join Hak-sung at the piano, where he shows her a neat trick, turning digits into notes to whip up a sweet melody, like playing the digits of pi. During the next math class, Ji-woo corrects Mr. Kim's solution using the logic Hak-sung taught him about tricky questions. But Mr. Kim isn't pleased. He scolds Ji-woo, emphasizing that the correct answer doesn't matter if it's not what the examiner expected. Ji-woo argues back, insisting he'll stick to giving the right answers, not just the expected ones. Mr. Kim finds Ji-woo's attitude disrespectful and sends him out of the class for the remainder of the lesson. Later, Ji-woo informs Mr. Kim that he won't be transferring schools after all. In the afternoon, during one of Hak-sung's visits, Ji-cheol gifts him a smartphone to make it easier to keep in touch. Hak-sung proudly shows it to Ji-woo, who notices him struggling to read lengthy texts on the small screen. To assist, Ji-woo asks a classmate to sneak him into the computer lab so he can print out the entire document to give to Hak-sung. The following day is the Pythagoras test. Ji-woo performs well, thanks to Hak-sung's guidance, while Bo-ram initially does okay but then becomes overwhelmed. The pressure gets to her, causing her to leave the exam room without completing the test. Her mother decides to keep her home to avoid embarrassment, falsely claiming they're going on a trip when the school asks. Ji-woo's attempts to reach out to Bo-ram go unanswered. In the evening, Ji-woo and Hak-sung attend a classical concert that Bo-ram had secured them free tickets for through her family's company sponsorship. Bo-ram doesn't turn up, but Hak-sung is deeply moved by the performance, even to tears. Afterward, Hak-sung invites Ji-woo to dinner at his place, which makes Ji-woo realize it's the first time he's seen Hak-sung eat. That very evening, the Pythagoras test mysteriously pops up online, causing headaches for the teachers. They scramble to pinpoint the culprit to avoid getting axed by the education board. Meanwhile, Ji-woo and Hak-sung hit up a bookstore for some browsing, only to bump into a stranger who recognizes Hak-sung. Turns out, this guy hails from North Korea and fondly recalls Hak-sung as "Doctor" from his university teaching days. The stranger also dubs Hak-sung as the renowned math whiz, and assumes Ji-woo is his offspring, making things awkward. Hak-sung politely acknowledges the man's memory jog and hustles out of the store, dodging Ji-woo's queries. Back home, Hak-sung reminisces about the good old times with his son Lee Tae-yun, like sharing meals, acquiring a pet turtle, and stocking up on strawberry milk, Tae-yun's favorite. The next day, a bombshell drops on TV. The Riemann hypothesis, a major math conundrum, is on the verge of being cracked by a famous North Korean, Lee Hak-sung. The solution still pending review by a panel of scholars. Professor Oh spills the beans on TV about his youthful encounter with Hak-sung during a math contest, where Hak-sung represented the North and Oh, the South. They scored fancy pens from a big-shot mathematician, and Oh still treasures his. Both Ji-cheol and Ji-woo catch wind of the news. Ji-woo tracks down Hak-sung first to grill him about it, but Hak-sung snaps and forbids any talk of the Riemann hypothesis. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim faces a crisis over the test debacle, jeopardizing his rep. However, a co-worker hits pay dirt when reviewing security footage after a student blabs some gossip, offering him a lifeline. The next day, Mr. Kim ropes Ji-woo in to watch footage of him sneaking out of the computer lab clutching printed pages. Ji-woo tries to protest innocence, but he's got no alibi. Between the damning tape and his sudden math prowess, he's in hot water. Mr. Kim throws him a bone, transfer quietly, and he won't go public with the blame game. Unfortunately, word spreads about Ji-woo supposedly being the one behind the leak, which deeply upsets Bo-ram because she knows the truth. Meanwhile, Ji-cheol faces his own challenges as North Korea accuses the South of stealing Hak-sung's accomplishments, especially those related to military encryption. As a result, the NIS wants Ji-cheol to persuade Hak-sung to go on TV and clear up the situation. Hak-sung finds himself thrust into the spotlight, with his name plastered all over the news. An old acquaintance even tries to convince him to return to the North, but his ulterior motives backfire when he brings up Hak-sung's son, angering him. Ji-cheol visits Hak-sung to apologize for failing to keep the NIS off his back, but Hak-sung remains grateful for years of protection. While Hak-sung prepares to leave town, Ji-cheol returns a document containing his research, which Hak-sung had tried to discard years ago. Ji-woo shows up, but opts to stay outside upon hearing raised voices. Hak-sung, furious that his research led to his son's death, refuses to go on TV. After Ji-cheol departs, Ji-woo attempts to talk to Hak-sung, but the older man rebuffs him, denying any relationship beyond tutor and student. Bo-ram calls Ji-woo, upset and confused about the situation, but he simply states that it's over and hangs up. Meanwhile, Hak-sung, haunted by memories, glimpses what he thinks is his son's face in a stranger at the bus station. Recollections of the night Tae-yeon died flood back. Following a fight over defending defectors, Tae-yeon accused his father of selfishness for escaping to the south only after his mother fell ill with tuberculosis. Despite Hak-sung's claims of seeking a better life for his son, Tae-yeon argued that menial jobs and mistreatment were hardly an improvement for a scholar. After telling his dad to enjoy a solitary life with just math, Tae-yeon fled and attempted to swim back to the north, only to be shot by border patrol. Meanwhile, Ji-woo snuck into his own house while his mom slept to borrow her stamp for some transfer papers. The next day, he handed them to Mr. Kim, who approved of his actions. Hak-sung stayed holed up in a hotel while Ji-cheol hunted him down for a TV appearance. Surprisingly, he received a call from Bo-ram informing him about Ji-woo's transfer. On the day of the Pythagoras Award ceremony, Ji-woo was heading out of school when Bo-ram showed up out of nowhere, dragging him to the auditorium by swiping his belongings. Professor Oak kicked off the event with a speech about a new math theory, just as Hak-sung burst in, having rushed over from setting his turtle free in the river. Proving his identity with a pen, Hak-sung was warmly welcomed by Professor Oh, who allowed him to speak. After joking about his past as a guard, Hak-sung revealed he was Ji-woo's math tutor and cleared him of any test-leaking accusations. He exposed Mr. Kim as the culprit, causing him to storm off in fury and shame. Hak-sung then shared his own story, defecting from North Korea to pursue math without it being used for weapons. He hoped his math could help people find jobs and enter good colleges, but his ambition cost him his son's life. Despite his regret, Ji-woo never judged Hak-sung and kept his secret loyalty until the end, even if it meant sacrificing his own future. Tearfully, Hak-sung apologized to Ji-woo and thanked him for his unwavering belief, moving Ji-cheol to silently exit, abandoning his plans for a TV interview. Instead, he waited outside to offer Hak-sung a ride. Ji-cheol, after tossing aside the smartphone he previously bestowed upon Hak-sung, unveils a small surprise, a fresh, legitimate passport labeling Hak-sung as a citizen of South Korea. Alongside it are tickets, enabling Hak-sung to flee the town temporarily to evade detection by the NIS. Ji-cheol realizes this might cost him his job, but he deems it a sacrifice worth making. Later on, Ji-cheol pays a visit to Ji-woo, delivering the gifts Hak-sung left behind, the renowned pen and the initial version of his thesis. Fast forward 3 years, Ji-woo and his college peers embark on a trip to the esteemed Oberwolfach Research Institute for Mathematics. To Ji-woo's delight, Hak-sung is now employed there. Ji-woo surprises him with a carton of strawberry milk and a warm embrace before delving into a lengthy discussion about mathematics. Turn on alerts, like, and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. Thank you for watching.